State of Michigan versus Kiera Banks, case number 23 FB 1350. Rachel McDuffie for the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Marcia Creature on behalf of Ms. Banks. Ms. Banks, can you please state your name for the record, please?
Kiera Banks.
Good morning, Ms. Banks.
Good morning.
All right, we're here on a pretrial.
If I may, Your Honor. Your Honor, this Ms. McDuffie and I and my client have reached a resolution in this matter where my client will be pleading to the domestic violence under 4A.
That's correct. The defendant will plead to count 2. Under 769.4A. Count 1 was dismissed at exams.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ma'am, is that your understanding of the agreement? You're going to be pleading guilty to domestic violence, which is a misdemeanor carrying a maximum penalty of 93 days and $500 fine plus court costs. In exchange for that plea, you will be sentenced under 769.4A, which means that if you do everything that you've been ordered to do under that particular program while you're on probation, then this would not be on your record. Is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And that's what you want to do? Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You may lower your hand. I'm going to go over some rights that you have that you're going to be giving up by entering into this plea. Please stop me if you have any questions or if you feel like you need to speak with your attorney again, okay? You have the right to have a trial by a jury, at which time you can call witnesses to speak for you. You can get an order signed by this court to require that those witnesses come to court. You have the right to see, hear, and question any and all witnesses that are called against you by the prosecution. And you have a right to be a witness for yourself, or you could decide, I want to remain silent, and the prosecutor could not comment on that. You also have the right to be presumed innocent unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand all those rights, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that by entering into this plea, you're going to be giving up all of those rights and you're not going to be having a trial of any sort?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you also understand, ma'am, that there's no automatic right to appeal this decision? So the decision that you're making today, in all likelihood, it's going to stick with you.
Yes.
And do you also understand that if you're on probation, parole, or bond on August 12th of 2023, when this happened, then you could be in violation of that probation, parole, or bond. Were you on any of those?
Yeah, I understand.
Were you on any of those, probation, parole, or bond, on August 12th?
No.
All right, thank you. And then in addition to that, if you're not a U.S. citizen, ma'am, you could have immigration consequences. Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. To the charge of domestic violence, how do you plead? I'm sorry?
I feel guilty.
All right. Has anyone promised you anything to get you to plead guilty other than what we placed on the record today? I'm sorry, it didn't come through.
No, ma'am.
Has anyone threatened you in any way, shape, or form?
No.
All right. On August 12th, 2023, were you at the vicinity here in Ypsilanti Township, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Present. Was there an Amani Cairo present also?
Yeah.
And did you assault and batter Armani Cairo?
Yeah.
What did you do?
After the victim struck me, I struck him back in the face.
You say after he struck you, you struck him back in the face?
Yeah.
All right, that sounds like self-defense.
Your Honor, if I could pass this matter and chat with her, I'd appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, thank you. So you put me in a breakout room. Thank you.
State of Michigan versus Lawrence Glenn Powers, case number 23 FB 1469. Rachel McDuffie for people.
Assistant Public Defender Sandra White on behalf of Lawrence Glenn Powers.
Mr. Lawrence Glenn Powers, please state your name.
My name is Lawrence Zachariah Glenn Powers.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. All right, we're here today for a pretrial.
Yes, Your Honor, and I have spoken with Mr. Glenn Powers, and he wishes to set this matter for a trial. And I just want to put a few things on the record.
Which type of trial are you requesting, Ms. White?
I'm sorry, a jury trial. Is that correct, Mr. Glenn Powers? Yes.
Final settlement conference in this case will be on January 25th, 2024 at 11 a.m. with jury selection being on February 2nd. Well, is December closed? Ms. McDuffie, would you be able to be ready by the 14th for final settlement conference?
That's fine, Your Honor. But when Ms. White mentioned wanting to put some things on the record, I think that relates to the offer that was extended. So as long as we can just cover that before we're done, I'm fine.
All right. Go ahead and put what you want to place on the record, please.
Mr. McDuffie, can you go ahead and put that offer on the record?
Sure. Mr. Glenn Powers has already pled guilty to 2 cases in circuit court, one of which is related to this incident with the same victim. And
I haven't played in nothing in circuit court, so please don't say that. You're lying. I haven't even been past a pretrial. I haven't played guilty to nothing in court and to align with nothing. I haven't even made it past the point to do that. I'm in mitigation status, so please don't lie. Please tell the truth.
She misunderstood then. Can you listen to our offer, Mr. Glenn
Man,
Powers?
you gotta say it right though, man. I'm not gonna go for nothing.
Mr. Glenn Powers, please
Yes,
stop.
ma'am. I apologize.
so if I may continue, yes, I may have misspoken. There was a Cobb's agreement in progress in circuit court. This case had not yet been included in that matter. I was under the impression that it had already been worked out, but possibly not. So the issue is that Mr. Glenn Powers had one of 2 options to resolve this case. They were working on the potential for mitigation because there was a request that apparently Mr. Glenn Powers did not want to have any further upfront jail or prison for those 2 matters. And how this case was resolved was going to potentially, was going to definitely impact that request made to that court. The offer extended was one of 2 forms of a restitution only agreement. One of them would be simply an agreement to dismiss this case with a restitution repayment included in that sentence agreement, or the other option would have been to plead under a deferred so that the case would be dismissed after restitution is repaid. The understanding being that the prosecutor's objection or argument or recommendation for his sentencing agreement would have been impacted by how this case is resolved, since that's part of, I think, the court's, Judge Slay's hesitation for that request from defense. So given what I've seen today, it sounds like Mr. Powers is not only not interested in that, but, well, I won't say anything further. I just communicate with that other prosecutor.
Your Honor, can I be put in the breakout room, Mr. Glenn Powers, again? I don't think thank you.
Awesome. Crazy.
Or will I will pass that matter. The court will recall the case of Kiera Banks case number 23FB 1350.
Rachel McDuffie for the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Marcia Frazier on behalf of Ms. Banks. Ms. Banks, can you please state your name again, please?
Kiera Banks.
Your Honor, if I may,
You're gonna make do what?
if I may voir dire my client.
You may.
Ms. Banks, there was time between the incident that you mentioned with Amari striking you and you striking Amari. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I'm at work. That's it.
I know, but we have to record this, and if we can't pick it up, then
Can you hear me?
it doesn't work. So was there time in between the time that he struck you to the time that you then struck him?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, it keeps going in and out.
Ms.
Okay.
Craig,
And you
Yes,
had,
ma'am.
and when you struck him, you were at that time unprovoked. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
all right. When you say time had passed, how much time are we talking?
I asked for you on my way, sorry.
Anybody?
About
Oh,
a
yeah.
minute. Go ahead, Ms. Banks.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a few minutes.
A few minutes?
It's been about a minute. I had time to walk away and I did not.
Oh, it had been like
Your Honor.
5 minutes. Yes. Miss McDuffie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just also wanted to add, the police were present and observed the incident as well.
Mhm. Right.
Okay. So, the entire incident or just the part where she struck him?
It looks like the police were on the scene. There's obviously the count that was dismissed at exam. It appears that they arrived at some point after the first count and before the second, if that makes sense.
Not really.
The count involving a firearm.
Mhm.
I understand. Okay, but this was after she alleged that she was struck first. That they arrived. That's my question. Miss Banks, is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes, they're right. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, there's one more element I think we need to put on the record.
Were you guys in a dating relationship at the time?
I think
I'm sorry, one more time?
Were you in a dating relationship with,
No, we have not, no.
they have a
That's
child
my
in common,
child.
Your Honor.
child in common? Okay,
Yes.
all right, I find that there's a factual basis for the plea that's been willingly and knowingly made. Are you satisfied, Ms. McDuffie?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense is satisfied, Your Honor.
Sentencing in this case will be on January 8th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Ma'am, you need to make and keep an appointment with the probation department. Do you have their phone number?
I've talked to my probation officer.
I'm sorry?
I said, you said have I contacted my probation officer?
You have to contact the probation department. Do you have their phone number?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
You have the one for here in 14B District Court, ma'am?
Oh, no, ma'am. I have the one that's on hardback.
All right. Do you have a pen so you can write down the phone number to contact our 14B District Court?
Yeah. Can you hand that pen, please? Would you like a pen? Yes, ma'am. I have a pen.
734. Everyone on the call that might need to speak with probation also needs to write this down. And I will see you back here on January 8th, 2024 at 10 o'clock a.m. You need to contact the probation department and arrange a time to have a pre-sentence investigation interview done. It is a condition of your bond that you do that. If you don't have that interview, then you'll be in violation of your bond. Okay? All right, thank you. I'll see you back here then on January
Thank
8th.
you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. The court will recall the case of the state of Michigan versus Lawrence Glenn Powers, case number 23 FB 1469.
Rachel McDuffie for the people.
Assistant Public Defender Sandra White on behalf of Lawrence Glenn Powers.
Mr. Glenn Powers, please state your name again.
Name is Lawrence Zachariah Glenn Powers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the breakout room, Your Honor. I did have to talk to Mr. Glenn Powers about those offers, and thank you, Ms. McDuffie, for clarifying them. Is there a restitution amount?
The request would have been for $1,200, yes.
Okay, so it's for $1,200, Mr. Glenn Powers. Do you still wish to go forward with the dismissal?
You need to speak with your attorney again, sir.
No, ma'am, I'm just thinking that I'm thinking I want to just go for it for my final settlement conference, just and all of that, because I'm not pleading guilty. I'm not taking no penalty for something I ain't do. So we can just push for that. I was gonna take it, but talking about
That's
$1,200.
fine, Your Honor.
No, we ain't going. Not no $1,200 for no keys, and I beat that. And
So
I beat it.
Your Honor, when I spoke to Ms. White, and yes, I was mistaken. I don't appreciate being called a liar, but I was mistaken that because there had been a sentence and offer discussed, and a Cobb's discussion was in progress for the sentencing request. I did misread that as if he had already taken the plea. Obviously, he has not, which means this case is not at this point included in that agreement, but could be. So I just also want to make it clear that moving forward to trial also means that this matter would obviously not be included in any sort of globals with those two felonies. And the restitution agreement is intended to cover the damage to the car itself, in addition to the key. So just so that is clear. So with all that being said,
I beat the MDOP. So how can I get charged with the MDOP? It got dismissed at prelim. That don't make no sense, Your Honor. Now that don't make no sense. I got this.
Mr. Glenn Powers, sir, you're here before this court on
Some keys, larceny from a person, less than $200. And my restitution is $1,200.
Well, when is the next court date at the circuit court level?
My circuit court is supposed to be the 11th. I'm waiting on my medication.
Mr. Glenn Powers, please stop talking, sir.
I can't let them talk for me.
So the next court date is when?
they adjourned to December 11th to get an assessment for mitigation.
Okay. All right, so what is your request, Miss White, on behalf of your client? Does he want the December 14th date or the January 25th date?
It sounds like he wants the soonest final settlement conference date as possible.
Is that correct, Is that correct, sir? All right. Final settlement in this case will be on December the 14th, 2023 at 11 a.m. with jury selection being on January the 5th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. All right, bond is continued.
Well, bond is $10,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.